I'm not here to have fun. I'm here to do a walkthrough. Okay, so now this is an extremely critical part. I mean, if you fail this, then you might as well just reload your save game. This is Mayor Domino, and he gives you a little puzzle. And he gives you maybe the most important materia for the early game. He tries to get you to guess a password. I think you can ask this guy for a clue. But alright, so what you have to do, and you have to try to guess his password, and you do that by looking at each of these libraries. This is the Urban Development Research Library, so there's going to be one book on the shelf that doesn't fit in with the categories. So biological characteristics, B, and the number 1 essentially it's the first letter of that book title. So B is one of the letters. So if you know that, then I'm pretty sure there's only one. Oh no, it could be. And the password changes depending on the playthrough. It's random. I think there's only a handful of possibilities that it can be, and I think they actually changed it in the subsequent re-releases. But scientific research. So it's a 4-letter password. It can be bomb or best, based on B, the first letter that we got, B. So scientific. Okay, reactor. So it's the 6th letter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, so it's bomb. Once you get 2 letters, then you might be able to narrow it down. So we have B and O. So it's bomb. If it's not, then we're reloading our save. But it is bomb. Okay. Key card, and you have to get it on the first try. It gives you the elemental materia. Okay, so using that elemental materia, we're actually going to put it on Tifa for now. Alright, what elemental materia does is it changes the, if you equip it, it's a blue support materia, so you're supposed to link it using one of these link slots with an elemental materia. So we have lightning, so that it changes your physical damage to lightning. So if enemies are weak to lightning, you'll do double damage by hitting that weakness. If they're strong against lightning, you'll do half damage, and if they absorb lightning, they will absorb the damage. If you do the same thing but you have an armor slot, it will give you resistance against that element in your armor. So it has 3 levels, and then you can master it and get another elemental materia by getting the 4th level. The second level applies to if you're using it in your armor. It nullifies that element, and then the 3rd level lets you absorb that element if you put it in your armor. It's useful in the early game and the mid game. I don't think it's very useful in the end game. In the end game, you have a ton of HP anyway, and you have a lot of ways to cure yourself. But it's useful to always have it equipped in the early and mid game. because you want to be leveling it. Also note that for most of the game, the only way to hit the wind element is to link it with summon materia Choco Mog, which you get pretty soon after you leave Midgar. And by the way, click this console. That gives you your 3. It gives you your 3, I guess, access to opening 3 gates. Open this one, and then open this one. That way you can come in here and collect this A coupon, go in the ducks, and then you can collect the other 2 coupons, because you can open 3 doors, and that's the only way you can collect all the items. Anyways, as I was saying earlier about the wind element, it's the only way to hit the wind elemental weakness of wind, and a lot of enemies are weak to wind in this game. In fact, that is the #1 weakness. But Final Fantasy VII is not, and it's something I like about this game. It's not a rock paper scissors game. It's like you're not gonna go into an area and then, you know, equip a certain element and everything in that area will be weak to that element. It doesn't work like that. There are a couple areas where, for instance, in Midgar, you're fighting a lot of robots. Here's where you turn in the coupons, by the way, and then get all 3 items. Star Pendant will be useful because one of the bosses will use poison. 4 slots is a piece of armor that has 4 materia slots. We'll give that to Eris when the time comes. And we get yet another all materia. People love all materia for I'm just gonna stick it in a slot to level it. People love to sell mastered all materia because it sells for a lot of gil, but I never find that I need that much gil in a playthrough, because the way I play, I skip buying items that are not useful. I think there's one of these lockers has something. Ether, yep. And then go in here and mess with the vending machine, because it eats your gil, but you come back here later and you can get something out of it. Don't forget you have to bang on it, and then you'll get something later when you come back. And then you can go take a rest in the... Get some rest. Okay, as I was saying earlier, there are some areas where you have enemies weak to a certain element. Like in Midgar, a lot of enemies are weak to lightning. By the way, if you have the opportunity to, try to create multiple save files, because Final Fantasy VII has a bunch of bugs. So if you run into basically a chance your save game will be completely irreversibly messed up. I don't think there's anything in here. It's just, anyways, so do as I say, not as I do. Okay, but as far as elemental weaknesses go, it's mostly just like the Holy Trinity, lightning, fire, and ice. They all do the same damage, and then bio, poison, does a little more, but costs a little more MP. And then quake does the most, but costs more MP. no. First one is in the room up top. Yeah, there we go. But Quake, earth damage. Enemies. And then you have to. By the way, this puzzle involves going out and collecting the parts from the chests and then coming back to the diorama and reinserting the parts. But as I was saying, enemies weak to earth are flying enemies are immune to earth damage. So, and there's actually a lot of flying enemies in this game, and a lot of flying enemies are weak to wind. So that's why the elemental materia is important, especially in the early mid game when physical damage is weak. It's one of the only ways to boost physical damage in the early mid game, and it gives you. And it's one of the only advantages physical damage has to magic damage in the early game. In the late game, physical damage is really strong. So, I think the third one is up here. Yep. Once you get the first two, this puzzle is pretty easy. It kind of falls in order. Alright. But in the early game, if you don't get that elemental materia, you might as well just reload the save game, because you don't get another one until almost a majority of the way through disc 1. And Final Fantasy VII, disc 1 is the majority of the game. Shoot, the next one is up here. And then eventually you get a third one. But the third one you get almost in the end game. You get somewhere in this too. I can't get it to work. Okay. It's the last one. Oh, it's right here. And by the end game, the elemental materia is not very useful. So I wouldn't bother trying to level it. Now there's another materia called added effect, which you pick up on disc 1, like halfway through disc 1. And that is very useful in the end game, because that added effect works like elemental, only for status effects. Alrighty. So if you've been playing the remake, you'll know that Tifa had a scene where she didn't want to go in the bathroom. Alrighty, so you're gonna spy on Shinra in their meeting. I'm gonna cut this out and then resume after. Alrighty, we just found out that Hojo has some nefarious plans for Eris to breed her with an animal that has more longevity, so that he can do some more crazy experiments, and he wouldn't have to worry about killing the subject with his nefarious experimentation. all bad things, so we're gonna follow him. Because he may lead us to Eris. Now, on the 67th floor, you'll fight random battles. And you're gonna want to steal a bunch of stuff. So it's not these guys. Oh shoot. I didn't know they were immune to lightning. Okay. Kind of put a monkey wrench in things because it gave Tifa elemental lightning in her weapon. Now follow Hojo, but try to encounter these enemies. They will these enemies will let you steal a carbon bangle, which is armor with way more materia slots. You're gonna beat this up pretty good. Luckily in the early game, there's no enemies that really doing any kind of decent damage to you, so you're never really in any danger. Feel free to use up your potions, because potions are not very useful in this game. They're called Moth Slasher. You'll outgrow potions pretty quickly, so. And since you'll be using the restore materia, you'll rack up a lot of potions. Steal rate in the early game is abysmal. Luckily when you leave Midgar you can equip steal on all your characters, so you can try to not spend so much time. Might only have enough patience to steal a couple of these. If you really can't stand it, you can actually try to level up, because you can get a couple levels and improve your steal rate that way. Alrighty. Finally got 2 carbon bangles. I think that's all I had the patience for. I don't think you need more than 2 of them. Interesting little scene here. You finally actually get a close-up on the character models, because most of the game the camera is so panned out. I mean, not that the character models are extremely detailed or anything, but I think that for the PSX, the way they did Final Fantasy VII was pretty ideal. PSX had an issue with the offline texture warping, whereas like textured 3D models, they would depending on the viewpoint, the textures would warp all over the place. I call it the offline texture swimming, because it actually looks like the textures are like wavy, like water. But Final Fantasy VII kind of negates that. It kind of goes the Super Mario 64 route, and like just has colored shaded polygons, which works fine for the era. I mean, no one seemed to have a problem with Super Mario 64, and people seem to have a problem with Final Fantasy for some reason. People seem to have a problem with Final Fantasy VII, but you know, the thing about Final Fantasy VII is you're never staring at a loading screen, and you can still have a lot of characters on screen at once. That is something that Final Fantasy VIII severely struggles with, because they tried to upgrade the graphics, but they did not. In my opinion, they failed because they can't have that many characters on screen at once in Final Fantasy VIII. So the game feels empty. And Final Fantasy IX struggled because everything takes so long to load in Final Fantasy IX. Like you'll spawn into a battle, and then the camera will be sweeping around for like 5 seconds at a time, just waiting for things to load. And in Final Fantasy IX, they have this, I don't know if it's a mechanic or they're trying to hide loading times. I suspect they're trying to hide loading times, because whenever you select an ability or command in Final Fantasy IX, your character will just be standing there for a couple seconds. And okay, these guys have a steel, so they're also weak to fire, and they hit pretty hard, so you want to get them down to 1 and then steal from them. They double attack. They just have a pretty nice weapon for Cloud. I'm actually saving Cloud's limit break for the boss. There'll be a boss as soon as you get to the next floor. Yeah, they also use ice. Nice. Out of MP, so that's good. Can't spam ice on us. Alrighty. Got it. I'm gonna use fire, because he's weak to fire. Alrighty, so those steals were pretty awful. They took a long time. So we got a lot of interesting new equipment. Hard edge, so you finally getting rid of the Buster Sword, but doubling the attack. We have Cloud, Carbon Bangle, along with the Star Pendant to resist poison. Give Barret a Carbon Bangle. And then Tifa's out, so give Barret the cover materia. Give Barret elemental on his lightning elemental. Next boss is not weak to lightning, but just have it there. Alright, so this is how you should load out. Give Cloud a bunch of nukes. Actually plan on just to level them. Although that will reduce his strength. Yeah, it increases magic stat significantly and reduces strength. So if you give characters a lot of magic materia, the green materials, you see how it has negative strength and negative HP. So that can be a detriment if you give someone a lot of magic materia. So I'm actually gonna use Cloud as a caster. Use magic with Cloud. Cloud is a very strong magic user, which is something that they kind of, if you play the remake, Cloud does have a pretty good magic stat, but he's not really a caster. Like, you can't really main magic with Cloud, which is a shame because you totally can in the original. And that's the thing about Cloud, he's a super soldier. He can do anything. In the Japanese version, Eris actually refers to him as kind of like a do everything man. I think in the English translation, she calls him a jack of all trades when she first meets him in the church after he crashes through the roof. But in the Japanese version, that's actually kind of like an endearing nickname for him. She refers to him as a Nandemoya-san, Mr. kind of like a Mr. Do Everything, and that's what he's supposed to be. He's supposed to be the super soldier that can do everything, and the remake fails to characterize him that way. I feel like the remake really fails as far as the way it characterizes Cloud, because Cloud essentially comes off as very weak in the remake. Like, his sword looks too heavy for him. Like, it looks like he can't lift his sword up. And then at one point, have Tifa leave. Yeah, because Barret's more useful in the boss fight, you'll see. At one point in the remake, like, Cloud goes to swing his sword and it gets stuck on a door frame. What the heck, man? Like, that's why I have no patience for the remake. Alrighty, so this boss fight is the boss is lined up in the back, and he's essentially being protected by the weaker enemies in front. Shady Breath causes poison, by the way. I don't think I have any antidotes, but whatever. Poison's not that big a deal. Cross slash is nice because it causes paralysis. You can take advantage of that on certain bosses because it's like the only status effect that bosses are not immune to. Especially Materia Keeper, which is one of the first kind of tough bosses. You can take advantage of the fact that you can paralyze it. Now you can kill the little weak enemies, but he'll just revive them. So, my opinion is just better to just use a ranged attack like Barret or Magic. I don't think the boss is actually weak to anything. Might be immune to like poison or something. There it is. Easy money. A lot of these early game boss fights are just easy money. Just damage sponges. Talisman is nice. It gives you plus 10 spirit. Spirit increases your magic defense. Not as nice as increasing strength or their magic stat, but don't think there's anything we can do here that's interesting. Red 13 gets yet another all materia, sense materia, inventory -1. I don't think there's anything worth changing. Poison is actually the strongest nuke, so maybe we'll spread this materia out a little bit, give red some more things to do. That all materia is not very useful, not connected to anything, so poison is actually our strongest nuke right now. So yeah, this looks about right. Couple lightnings, couple fires. Alrighty. Oh, you can change the party? Huh. Whatever, I'm okay with this. I guess you can bring in the heiress. And then give heiress 4 slots. Give heiress the poison, fire, ice, lightning. Fair enough. Okay. Fair enough. You can do whatever you want. It's just the Shinra building. But giving heiress a bunch of materia in the 4 slots is nice, because then you can see her magic stat gets boosted a lot. Even though she's the lowest level, her magic stat is equal to Cloud, who is 3 levels higher, which is a pretty big difference in her this early in the game. 3 levels. It's good to level her too. She's at, well, I guess everyone's pretty low, but characters not in your party also continue to get experience in this game. Also, do not miss that enemy skill materia. That's another one of those things. If you miss it, you might as well reload your save. More on that later. I think we go to try to leave at this point, and then you get stopped. I'll save here. Characters not in your party get experience in this game, by the way. They get half the experience that everyone else, that people in your party get. But that way, they keep up in level, and eventually, if you rotate them just a little bit, then you don't have to worry too much about leveling characters. More important is unlocking their limit breaks. And that you have to do by using them, getting kills with them, and then using the limit breaks to unlock the second limit break in each tier. So yeah, the jig is up. Good. So we all get captured. So, narrative-wise, it's interesting what they do. They build Shinra up to be this impenetrable enemy. Like, no matter how hard the group tries, Shinra always has the upper hand. So, this is all dialogue, so I'm gonna skip this. So, alrighty. So, we just got jailed by Shinra. And had some really interesting dialogue with all the members of the group. Then you wake up in the middle of the night, your jail cell's open, there's a dead body outside, so you wake Tifa up. But definitely some very interesting dialogue with all the party members. That's something that Final Fantasy VII did extremely well, and just had a core cast of extremely memorable characters. And then the dramatic turn, if you will. We'll put that. Although Lightning Elemental is not really going to help us, but have recover. You know, just have all the materia slide in just to level them, even if it's not doing anything. Like this all materia. So give Eris most of your magic materia, and then give Cloud restore. You have so many all materia at this point that you're just gonna have a permanent all materia link to restore on Cloud, and that's what it is. And then fire elemental. Can't remember if enemies use fire or not. And then steel, although we won't be having anything interesting to steal. But let's roll. So Eris can be in the front row if she wants to be. Nothing really hits that hard at this point in the game, so just get her limit breaks more often. Oh, also get Tifa and Fury. That's the optimal state for Tifa, because she's gonna get her limit breaks very quickly. And not equipping any magic materia gets her strength stat kinda up there. For some reason in the early game her strength stat is really low, but eventually. Okay, so these enemies are kind of annoying, but you can use your new bio spell to do lots of damage. Oh, wait, no. They absorb bio. That's not cool, I guess. So we're gonna be throwing something that's not bio. I think a couple enemies absorb bio, so it's nice, but it's not going to help you so much in this section. Those little floating pots absorb bio, and I think there's one more other type of enemy that absorb bio. Trail of Blood. Now, it's interesting that in Final Fantasy VIII, they decided to censor a lot of blood for the English release. Whereas in Final Fantasy VII, you had blood. Pick up the potions. Oh, okay. You actually have to go. It's kind of tricky, but that door is actually on the bottom level. Potions for days. Potions aren't very useful. I think all these enemies absorb bio. Oh my god. Wow, they really like picking on Eris. I mean, seriously, what the heck, man? This is the first time that you get enemies that are kind of tough. Just follow the trail of blood.